It's my favorite time of the year again.
Yep, the holiday season. And it doesn't have to be so stressful and overwhelming.
What do you mean?
Can you unwrap peace this season?
Let's find out.
Mama says namaste.
Mama says namaste.
Making a family can be easy and fun.
Oh yeah, but raising a family can be a whole different story.
From spouses to kids to the crazy daily grind, life often directs us away from connection and more into reactive chaos.
If you're tired of that cycle and are seeking something beyond the picket fence blues, this is the show for you.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Nathan.
And we're here to take you from chaos to clarity by bringing awareness and intention into your home, not waiting for one day, and highlighting how
the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us.
Take a deep breath in and let's start a brand new day. With Mama says namaste.
All right, the holiday season. It is definitely...
Holiday season.
We did that last week, I think.
Oh.
We talked last week about the gift-giving thing and taking some of the pressure off of that. But that's only one of the many pressures around the holiday season. And so, you know, there are different perspectives for how the holidays can be. We shared a little bit of that last week, but, you know...
There's that unspoken anxiety of, oh, there's Uncle so-and-so, or, you know, this situation that's not fixed between you and someone else, or, you know, the expectation that maybe you should or could or will.
Or it's tradition. We've always done it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when you look at, you know, what holiday really means, it's a day of festivity or recreation when no work is done.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, going back to a few episodes ago where we did the whole notice and do concept. The mental load of navigating the holidays can be a ton, especially when you have maybe one person that loves the holidays and one person that doesn't.
What
and then
you
all of a
talking about,
sudden,
Willis?
you carry all the pressure of not only wanting to make the holidays, you know, as magical as what you have remembered them being.
Don't worry, folks. That's not your phone. That's ours.
Thanks.
Well, I would be losing my mind thinking, I
What
swear
phone's
to God
going
I
off?
heard it.
All right, fine. Apparently not editing that one out. Okay, now that I've silenced my phone, there's a big mental load of things you carry. And I know personally, coming from a relationship where you didn't have as many, you know, fun and peachy feelings about Christmas time, I felt the pressure of not only trying to show that I'm thinking of everybody, make it a good time, but I'm constantly like weighing your happiness level and
Not
how
fair.
can I not you know,
fair.
just drag you through it.
Oh, my goodness. And so how do we figure that out?
There's a few things to kind of address. I mean, first off is just kind of looking at what is this pressure of performance that we have?
Right.
Why do we have to show up to different things? And first off, anytime you say have to,
Yeah.
change that to get to or choose to.
Yeah.
You are in control of your life. You may not have to go to that family meal that is full of tense interactions and you have small children and they're running around like crazy and you're already stressed just at the thought of taking them to a family meal.
Well, see, like when I was in real estate, okay, I would sell and I would help people buy homes. And so I would usually they're usually selling a home. And so I'd go to the home they were selling and I would look at it to kind of get a feel for their jam. And I would realize 9 times out of 10, their house was full of stuff and they needed more room. That was usually the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would go over there and they'd fill that house up with more stuff. And so they've gradually gotten more and more stuff. The same way it's true for our emotional situation around the holidays. Usually we start filling it up and then we add something else and it gets more and more cluttered. But the more space we make for that event, it will be filled up with something if you allow it. And so if you don't manage the stuff coming in,
Mm-hmm.
then it can just feel really filled up with, no room.
Right. Because, I mean, I know some of that is as our kids grow, our social world may grow.
What?
And then we have, first it was just us doing the obligatory holiday parties, of us going to our parents' houses. And then we start to create our own friends. And now we've got the holiday parties and the birthday parties and all of these different things with our friends. And then our kids come in and then it's, okay, well, do we do something with that, that extracurricular class or that school class, and then do we do it with the friends, and now we have to have a party for the neighbors, and all of a sudden
You're 150 cupcakes in.
right, and you've got all of these parties and all these festivities, and we have all of this pressure that certain days, December 25th, February 14th, hope you know what that one is, baby.
That's Groundhog's Day, right?
Right. These dates that we have this pressure that it's supposed to be perfect, that this is supposed to be the perfect day. And so pull back on your pressure to perform and think about what the real desire is. Is the desire to rest? Mm-hmm. Well, maybe hosting the big family dinner is not a way of doing that. Or is the desire to just connect and love one another? Maybe it's not even around food, because that always adds an extra layer of work, because those times of festivity around food is often the pressure on one person who's seeing all the things and anticipating all the things, and it can be a lot of extra work.
And we all have to clean up after it too, right?
Right.
No, one or two people usually do.
Well, exactly. And for some people, it's fun. I grew up in a house where food was the center of a lot of stuff, and we had supper clubs and potlucks, and we all had parties and games and food, and it was wonderful, and I loved it, and it was a magical time, and it was holiday time all the time. I mean, we'd do it during the year for random supper clubs or random neighborhood parties, and not just during the holiday time. And
but to put your mind at ease, like when you're making these changes and shifts, it doesn't have to be forever. Looking at a red light, yellow light, green light approach is a great way to kind of help you decide what you want to thin out of the herd. And just say, for this year, we're not going to host breakfast at our house on Christmas morning.
Right.
We're just going to try having a chill one this year. We'll catch up with you guys in the afternoon over here, whatever our next situation is where we roll from. Mm-hmm. But, just offering it that way this year. Because if you say, well, we're not going to do that forever.
Right. It doesn't have to be the end of tradition. It sometimes is being realistic about what we need. And we'll get into that some more. So I wrote a blog post that goes along with this. This is a topic we bring forward every year and we talk about, is just the pressure to perform and the obligation and the stress that comes around where we get a bad taste for the holidays. Because to me, the holidays or celebration in general is important. I love it, and it's beautiful, and it can be done in a way that isn't a lot of stress and pressure for people, but so much has to do with your perspective.
Yeah, that's why I love you.
Okay, so another point on here is that December is a rollover month. Think about that. So often we throw all of our boundaries to the wind during December, and that means we say yes to every holiday obligation, and we want to appease all of the family coming in and all of these different things. It means we say yes to all of the junk food and the heavy food that doesn't make us feel very good anyway, and we say no to our exercising. It's cold, we're just going to hang, it's the holiday season. And the reality is all those things kind of roll over into January, and it can make for a pretty rocky January when, again, we've put all of this pressure on ourselves that January is this time to get everything straight. Well, oftentimes what we end up doing is we are so overloaded with stress and obligation and overeating and lack of exercise and saying yes to people that are stressing us out and everything else in December, that in January, we're not improving. We're just trying to get back. Like we're just trying to rebalance where we were before.
Back to normal.
So take things into moderation. Recognize rest is still important. Exercise is still important. Good health is still important. It doesn't mean that you don't indulge and have some fun, but use a little bit of balance there. Use some moderation and recognize that you can do a lot of the celebrating, a lot of the fun and the togetherness and the things that you wrap around the holidays. You have permission to do this the rest of the year. I was talking to Nathan about how next year I really want to prioritize kind of giving and celebrating to people all year round. If I see something, I think about somebody, I get it and I give it to them then. Or I write them a letter, or I pick up the phone, or we choose to go out to eat, and we do things to kind of have the holiday season all year round. And sometimes that can be even more memorable when you're taking somebody out of the regular mundane day-to-day and taking a moment to have a celebration.
Right.
We did that in our family with Logsdon Love Day. Logsdon Love Day is any day we want. And it can be whatever we want, but it's basically our own version of a holiday celebration, of us focusing on one of the main things that we feel is important, and that's that connection and having fun together.
Right. And it can really, in some ways, change the way you look at the holidays and the pressure that you have, because if you've been filling those buckets all year round, the need to get the big thing to, make up for missing the game or, coming home from work late every day isn't really necessary.
Right.
Because you've been making those investments. And so that pressure kind of changes.
Right. And so that kind of brings to light that it's the little moments that really can count. It's not about just making it the big agenda party. It's so often the memories that we really hold on to are the sweet, funny things. It's the mess up where somebody dropped the platter of food right before and everybody's scrambling to clean it up.
Yeah.
Or I remember for me putting up the Christmas tree with my parents when I was little, the tree skirt, when I was really, really little, I would put that on. Usually that was the only thing I was wearing. Wrap it around my my waist, and it was this heavy weighted skirt that would drag the floor, and I would run through the house and twirl, and I felt like such a ballerina. And it wasn't even the process of decorating the tree. I mean, it was me running around in a tree skirt, and it was a magical moment. And my parents would let me do it for hours until I was done. And we let our kids do the same thing with the same tree skirt. Mm-hmm. And it was those little moments are the joy of the holidays, or the joy of when you choose to stop and relish it. Exactly.
When you choose to be present. On this point, I was listening to a podcast. I think it was the Oprah one on.
It's What Happened to You, and it's about trauma. And it's Bruce Lipton and Oprah Winfrey. And yeah, I've mentioned it before. I listened to it, I think last year, and it was beautiful.
But she was telling the story of this family that had traveled together. They had taken time off. They had really just intentionally been with each other in a lot of ways, like we had their entire, for a good portion of time, maybe a couple years. And something happened where a few of the family members died, and so it was kind of a tragedy. And they were interviewing, I think Oprah was interviewing the daughter of the mother, and Oprah asked the daughter, "What's your favorite memory of your mother that you had experienced?" And Oprah was assuming she would come from, all the investment that this parent had made in
the big birthday party she performed,
or the
something
trip
like
that they went on that was so epic, and they were on the top of the mountain. These moments that we try to create on purpose for our families. And the little girl's response was waking up at 2:00 in the morning and like hearing her mother, who just was like sick or something and just wanted ice cream. And she went and got ice cream with her mother in the refrigerator downstairs. And it was and they hung out and ate ice cream and went to bed. And that was her moment. And it was just the most mundane, normal moment that we really take for granted. But those are the ones that sink in.
Yeah. All right, so some other ways so we've talked a lot about just perspective shift, and it's not so much anything drastic that you're doing. Maybe it's less that you're doing, but it's the perspective shift on it. The other thing is just being realistic with what your family needs. We have completely, and we've shared multiple times the story of us dragging our 2-year-old introverted child to every social event, and then all of a sudden she's, turned into this crazy banshee.
The child we don't know.
Yeah, the night before Christmas, and we're crying in the living room, wondering how in the world we can have Santa come, because she hit her limit and she was so maxed out. And it finally hit us that how much of it was our doing of pushing her too far.
That wasn't real. Yeah, that was part of it. It wasn't until we had Ellie, who was the exact opposite, who like raged off of human energy.
Oh my gosh, it's like a battery charger,
bouncing off the walls at 10:00 in the morning in her crib because we'd had a party and she wanted
10 at
more.
Night, right?
Oh yeah, 10 at night. But it's just it changed the way we traveled. It changed the way we approach everything with our kids, because we saw that for one kid it was very, very draining. And for another, it was very, very energizing. And, it's not like we let Clara get away with staying out of everything because she just is the introvert. That's not a crutch for her. We want her to be engaged. So she has to invest in the family in some way. And we want our girls to invest in the family in some way.
Right. And we respect what really we have to pay attention to what really does bring somebody joy. I know that for you and for Clara, a quiet walk in the woods would be chosen every time over going to, let's say, a Dickens of a Christmas holiday festivity in Franklin, Tennessee, which is what my parents would drag us
fight
to.
Traffic and then
oh my gosh,
get dressed up and
right,
act
and they
surprised
hated
and
it.
Interested.
And the reality is, I would drag my whole family to these events because it's the Christmassy thing to do, and then half my time is spent
being worried about whether we're having a good time or not. Like, what do you think? You brought us here. You know who we are.
Exactly.
This one's going to be different?
Right. And so I've learned how to be real with the family. Yes, there are times where we all show up just to show up for somebody else because we love them and we want to support them. I'm not saying say no to every single obligatory thing. There are times we have specifically said yes to make our moms happy because we knew it would bring them joy, and we're like, all right, we can handle this.
Well,
we'll do
do
it.
This for everybody.
So it's okay to do some of those. And I've learned it's a heck of a lot more fun to go shopping with Ellie and Juliet and leave Nathan and Clara at home.
Mm-hmm.
I love you all. Y'all hate it. It's better for everyone if we go out and we navigate it and we can have a great time. And what I end up doing in separating out the family like that for things is I'm able to really sit in the joy of it and not be worrying about whether somebody else is having a good time. And it's created some beautiful bonding moments where we have been able to kind of have some special one-on-ones or different dynamics of the family to go. So this year we've got a Christmas party that's coming up, and I've got a child who is, she's been counting down the days this whole year to do the Christmas party with her yaya, and she's so excited about it. And I know the reality that my oldest has no desire to be a part of that. Well, that's okay. There's going to be so many parties. We've got a lot of things to celebrate, and a lot of them are with just family, and this one is going to be with some strangers and a big potluck with meat and things that she doesn't care for. That's okay to give a pass.
Absolutely. And, communicating that to your family members that, I think we're going to do this with this year, and she's going to skip out on this year. It just helps them understand that, they don't have to be at every single situation all the time.
All right. So I want to share one little story of a client that I had. So I talked with this client through navigating the holidays, and she's super close to her whole family, and so there has been a whole lot of expectations that she's going to show up for every family event with her family. And it was just one of these times where she knew the same one family meal was always a stressor. It was always late at night. Her kids struggled to stay awake for it, and it was just a more stressful time. And so she decided finally to say no and to create more space to just pull back with her kids. And so she pulled back this year, the year that this happened, and she started a garden and she got chickens, and she'd really looked at how to kind of create her own little sanctuary at her home with her kids. And since she didn't have this big build up to this event where she was usually doing all of these meals and everything in preparation for it, she was able to just have some space. And what happened is she had a day where her son wanted to bake bread with her, and she said, okay, let's do it. And then her daughter wanted to tackle a holiday dish that was always the pressure was on her. And so she allowed it to happen. And she made these things, and she just kind of opened the door to it. And all of a sudden, it ends up at the last minute, somebody, I guess it was a friend from out of town or something, had come in and didn't have anywhere to go for a Thanksgiving meal. And they came to her house, and she had homemade bread, homemade cheese, eggs from her chickens. And it was like this perfect Southern living, the perfect meal. I say Southern living, they're actually up north. Anyway, but it was this magical, like Martha Stewart type feast that was not because of the pressure of expectation. It was her bringing joy in her home and then being rested enough to be able to offer it to a guest. And so it ended up becoming one of these epic moments in their memories for the holidays. While it really, the only way it happened is because she let go of the stress and obligation of saying yes to something that really wasn't a good fit for her family.
Yeah, it's facing into change and being brave enough to see what's on the other side of that, because you don't know. It may be worth going back to. It may be striking out a new journey for you. But I was just thinking that a lot of times these these holidays get kind of stuck in this rigid dogma of what we have to do. And it's hard for us to break loose of that unless, just trying some small things here and there are a great way to explore. Okay, it's not forever, but let's just try this year and see what we like.
Right. Be opportunistic. You can't do that if you haven't created any space for it.
Yes.
You have to allow the space for it, but then you don't know what may happen. It may be that unexpected guest that you're able to shower with love because you have the space to do it.
Or like you were talking about, that extra time and energy that you didn't usually have because it was given somewhere else.
Right. And finally, let go. Let go of some of the agenda. Allow for the flexibility of your whole family to flow. You don't know what may happen with that. There was a year that we were, I think, in between traveling, and it was a stressful year for whatever reason. I was very uninspired to do Christmas, and I think part of it was me dragging you along, and you weren't very excited about it anyway.
With that mode,
right? And
uninspired, I get that.
Right, and I just did not want to have to be the one dragging the family through pulling out all the Christmas decorations and everything. And so we got a tree, and that was it. Not even decorating the tree. It was like, it's just a tree. Here's a Christmas tree, girls. We're good this year. And then for the next week, I basically lost the girls to drawing. And they were all really little, and they had I don't even know I think they had markers and paper and then a laminator. And they sat there with the little curly ribbon and laminator and markers and paper, and they made ornaments for the tree. And they decorated the whole tree just in these little ornaments they made. And it ended up being one of the most precious memories and magical moments of us just creating. Yeah, it was not one that's going to be on the front of a magazine cover, but it was precious.
It was a real Christmas.
Yeah, and we still have some of those ornaments. And that happened because I kind of let go of the way it was supposed to be and just allowed some things to flow. So, if you're not feeling up for it all, that's okay. It may be that allows the opportunity for somebody else to step in and create some magic, just like my kids did when I wasn't motivated.
Mm-hmm. And it might surprise you what they come up with. And it may be a new, interesting tradition, creating a ornament every year.
Exactly. All right. So the final thing here is, of course, what about Santa? How do we handle Santa? We have a whole episode dedicated to that, and it is linked in our blog post. And so I've got a lot of more information on all of this on the blog that goes along with it. And we can go in, then you can listen to the whole other episode. But the bottom line for Santa is the essence of Santa for us is, this is a quote from the book that we read with our kids. Giving is not about taking credit, but about the joy a gift brings. So when we look at the holidays and really all throughout the year, we're looking for where are those opportunities for Santa moments? Where can we secretly give and just give joy without our need for acknowledgement?
Absolutely. And the other side of that coin is, how can you receive in the graceful way that makes the giver feel warm and generous? Because that's the other gift of the giver is, having that joy of knowing that they picked something out well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's a lot easier to do when you're thinking about it throughout the year versus the pressure of 2 weeks before Christmas.
What are you looking at me for?
Just saying.
I'm sort of ahead of schedule.
We're all a work in progress. So our challenge to you this week is to look at your holiday plans for the rest of the year. What is your goal in it? Are you really looking to find peace, joy, connection, and rest? How are you doing that? I mean, are your actions really supporting that? Or you're finding peace, joy, and rest with forced holiday celebrations over and over again? What are you saying no to that opens you up to yeses elsewhere, that may allow you to focus on the things that are really important for you during the holiday season? I got a meme a while back that was saying why you say happy holidays versus Merry Christmas. It's not taking the Christ out of Christmas. It's recognizing there are 14 different holidays with different religions and cultures in December. And saying happy holidays is honoring and respecting all of those different aspects of it.
That's right.
There's a lot going on. So where are you leaving space to acknowledge why you want to celebrate in the first place? So look at simplifying your time and pulling back to what really is precious in it, and really get to know the people around you and celebrate how the uniqueness in each of us strengthens all of us. Namaste.
1, 2, 3. Up with the rising sun, already on the run. Mama says namaste. Life is a tangled mess, and you don't have to stress. Mama says namaste. 'Cause today I will stand up and